Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Thursday night. Got Impact Wrestling on, and I wanted to do a take two on a wrestling weblog that I did for the YouTube channel a while back. And I want to talk, hopefully not too long, about Bret Hart's WCW run versus Sting's WWE run. And I did this video a while ago. It actually got it got a decent amount of hits, but I feel like I could do a better job on it, so I'm going to do a take two on it. Now, just to kind of do something fun here, I actually did get to meet Sting, and Sting was super cool to meet. For my bachelor party, basically, Sting was at a wrestling show in Syracuse, so we went to that, and actually I drew this poster, and Sting signed it, and I got to chat with Sting, and it was really cool. I got to just chill with Sting for, it's only about like 10 minutes, but still, it was really cool. So, Sting and Bret Hart, let's talk briefly about their respective WWE and WCW experiences. Well, first off, I remember, and everything I'm going to say is I'm just saying it as a fan. Okay, I don't have any backstage knowledge, but I will say this. I don't have any backstage knowledge other than what I hear in shoot interviews. Okay, so I obviously take those for whatever they're worth. I feel like WCW is always judged too harshly by wrestling fans and wrestling quote-unquote journalists. I think that there is a big anti-WCW bias in the internet wrestling community, and so WCW is just kind of viewed as this organization of habitual screw-ups that and their success is never really recognized. And it should be recognized because WCW, I feel, put out a really good product, and they should be recognized for putting out really good wrestling products. And obviously my favorite period in WCW, and this is not about just WCW, but I really feel like the period from 1994 through 1998, WCW was really much, much better than the WWF. So it got to a point, obviously, when 95, 96, 97, 98, WWF was in some real trouble. And I remember watching as a fan thinking to myself that WWF, that if they lose Bret Hart, it's over, because he's really all they got left. And he seemed like the WWF was they were just getting their butts kicked. They seemed increasingly insignificant. Their product looked cheaper than WCW's. And it seemed like the only big guy they had left was Bret Hart. And then all of a sudden, the NWO comes out and they're talking about Bret Hart, and I did a double take, because at the time, I didn't have the internet yet, and I knew something weird happened at Survivor Series where they kept saying about how Bret Hart, gave up or whatever, and I knew that there was something awkward about that, and it wasn't till, years later that I understood all the dimensions of the Montreal Screwjob. But I knew enough to know that something shady went down in WWF, and Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler in WWF, and he was coming to WCW, and this was going to be like Christmas morning, it's like dream time here, right? And when Bret Hart debuted in WCW on Nitro, I thought they did an awesome job with it. When Bret Hart gave Hulk Hogan's own head in a box, I thought that was just hilarious and funny and but cool too at the same time. And Sting came down on like a grappling hook, like he was Batman, and it really seemed like Bret Hart was gonna be, one of the major good guys in WCW and fight Hulk Hogan. Now, I was a Hulk Hogan fan, so I was like, oh, screw Bret Hart. I was like, they were buddies in WrestleMania 9. I mean, I was so naive. Like, I didn't know that, WrestleMania 9 actually caused tension between Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart. But I was just watching it as a fan. I was hoping that Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart would fight each other. And that didn't really materialize on a pay-per-view. They did have a fantastic Nitro match that I thought was really good. And it was a lot like Hulk Hogan's match against Great Muta, which is my favorite wrestling match. So if Hulk Hogan ever had any apprehension about wrestling Bret Hart, he really shouldn't have. That was a huge wasted opportunity for a major stage match, because the match they had on Nitro was great, and Hogan worked awesome against Great Muta, who is, I think, as good a wrestler as Bret Hart, if not better. I actually think Great Muta is better than Bret Hart. So if Hogan can hang with Muta, Hogan can hang with Bret Hart. I don't know what Hulk's anxiety about working with Bret Hart was, if there was any anxiety there, but ultimately I think Bret Hart's WCW run was okay. I mean, it wasn't great. It was very good at times. He did join the NWO and feuded with Sting. I thought that was, it made sense that there was a balance between Sting and the Wolfpack and Bret Hart and NWO Black and White and NWO Hollywood. But I thought Bret Hart should have gotten the title a lot sooner, but he did get the U.S. title. He feuded with Booker T. He had matches against Ric Flair. He had matches against Sting. He went on to wrestle Chris Benoit. He was the leader of NWO 2000. He was a heavyweight champion. I mean, it was really sad how his career ended, getting concussions from Terry Funk and Goldberg. But so it's terrible how his career ended, and it's disappointing that he wasn't, booked to his full potential. But when you compare how Bret Hart was booked in the in the WCW versus how Sting was booked in the WWE, the WWE did a much, much, much worse job with Sting than Bret Hart. Now, I understand that Sting was much older than Bret Hart, so, there was less opportunities for WWE to, they could only screw up so much with Sting before they killed his career. Bret Hart, it's like they had to actually physically injure him to cut his career short in WCW. But the same thing happened. Both wrestlers got injured and it cut their careers short. Now the flip side is Sting was handled so well in WCW and TNA that he had a very long career. And Bret Hart wrestled Goldberg, and Goldberg was sloppy in the ring. So, Bret Hart's career was cut short in WCW, but he did have more time to do better things. So, I mean, I'm speaking from this as a fan looking at the creative side of it. Now, Sting in WWE, like Bret Hart, he had a good debut in WCW. He showed up on Raw. It was very dramatic. I thought his theme music was cool. He was feuding with Triple H, who was the evil authority figure. Sting, always his character, starting with the Crow at least. Surfer Sting, not so much. But the Crow Sting always fought against unjust power structures. So he was fighting against Triple H. I thought the WrestleMania match against Triple H, up until the ending, was amazing. When Sting was using the NWO as a trump card to fight against Triple H. Because I was a big fan of TNA when Hogan and Sting were in there teaming up with like Joker Sting and Hollywood Hogan fighting the Aces and Eights. I thought that was a really good story. And then almost kind of randomly Sting lost the match to Triple H, and that made absolutely no sense to me because all the buildup was for Sting to win. And it was almost as though WWE could not even accept a symbolic loss for the sake of progressing a story to WCW and the NWO. So there was that. And then he fought Seth Rollins, and it was such a sloppy match. I mean, like, Goldberg messed up Bret Hart by not pulling back on a kick. But Seth Rollins threw Sting into a table full of computer monitors. I mean, that's just... I mean, Goldberg not pulling his punches is stupid. But, getting thrown into a table and not taking the computer monitors out is, I think, equally stupid. Especially when you've got an older guy like Sting. Because... one of the things I always hear in wrestling shoot interviews is that you want to protect a wrestler, right? This is why Brock Lesnar they always find plot reasons for him to take a nap in the middle of a match, because his stamina's not that good, it looks like. Or even when, like, Hogan was older, or Undertaker, or Ric Flair, you find ways to minimize what doesn't look good and maximize what does look good. They didn't do that with Sting in WWE. They just kind of threw him out there and said, okay, you're the man, you say so, go, right? And it's like, okay, but if you're booking him to lose matches and you're throwing him into tables with computer monitors still in them, what do you expect? So Sting had, 2 matches in the WWE, and it's not his fault that they didn't know what to do with him and hurt him. Right, so in this sense, like, I don't think WWE gets enough slack for mistreating Sting, and WCW gets a ton of slack for giving Bret Hart a average to above average run, even though it had a very sad ending with him getting concussions and getting his career cut short. So I mean, obviously I'm a fan. I was a WCW fan growing up, so I've got fan bias. But I have fond memories of Bret Hart and WCW. I don't have any fond memories other of staying in WWE other than, this is awesome. Oh, I'm disappointed. And that happening in a very short amount of time. So these are just my opinions, guys. This is a weblog I wanted to do. I'm going to go back to watching Impact Wrestling. And until next time, guys, my name is Noel. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.